Hello, everyone. It's really wonderful to see you. Thank you for turning up, and your time is super precious. So what I'm going to try and do today is sort of pack in as much as I can, but hopefully this is just the start of a relationship where you can contact me anytime, and if there's any questions after this point. And before I start the slides today, the deck, I wanted to tell you a quick story. So I'm a mum of two. I've got 14 and 16-year-old girls now, and was a secondary music teacher. Starting off, went into the music industry, do secondary music all the way down to primary teaching reception. So I've taught every single year, and also weaved in some youth work and other projects and community work in there, and got to the point where I decided to train as a play therapist. So I decided to train, did my training, became the play therapist at a wonderful little primary school, and really then saw the power of play. I truly believe in the power of play, saw the change that play brought in these families, but was really drawn to attachment theory and looking at trauma and really how do we reach the most vulnerable families? How do we see change? I want to see change, and I want to impact the lives of these families. And it was okay them sort of throwing a child into the therapy room with me and working that way. But I was thinking, surely there's another way. Surely there's a more effective way with some of the things that we're seeing. And there's always, I just want to start by saying there is always going to be a need for one-to-one therapy, so with a trained therapist, because and I've absolutely advocate that. I've received it myself. I would do the same with my children. But long story short, set up play healing because of a couple of things. One, I wanted to really share the things that I'd learned as a play therapist, going on this sort of 50 or 60 grand journey, thinking, oh my goodness, I wish I knew this when my kids were younger. But also, I think psychoeducation is such an important thing, and we need to simplify it. We need to get it to a point where it's understandable, and overwhelm is a massive issue that you're probably all seeing. We're probably all feeling overwhelmed, but these families, especially those in poverty, have got these extra layers of overwhelm, and then we're trying to sort of put them through a program or help them, and because they're so overwhelmed or struggling with addiction or struggling with these things, they're very hard to reach. And so I'm really excited today just to present you to my tiny piece of the play puzzle. It's not a big piece. I don't think I know everything about play, but bringing the 20 years of experience and distilling it down, getting it to a point where we've got something that's packageable, that's something that's neat, and something we can offer to the most overwhelmed people in our society. A very quick story. This lady came to me, her son was having anger issues. She was saying, he's hitting me, he was 6, he was really struggling at school, hitting other children, all the routines were going out the window. And she came to me saying, can I put him in therapy with you? And I said to her, yes, we could do therapy, and I'll probably have to get to know him over a good few weeks, and then he'll process his experiences, and probably be about 15 sessions minimum. And then I said, but I could work with you and give you the tools and see what happens. And she bravely said, okay, I'd like to learn with you. And we had our first session, and we paused and we looked at the issues that were presenting. And I gave her just a few play strategies to go away and try out with her son. And she came back a week later going, oh my goodness, this has changed. I tried this and he really responded. And then so I tweaked the idea, and then we did this, and my heart leapt, because it was exactly what I'm about. It's about giving them permission to play their way, giving them some tools, and empowering our parents to, and they will see the change. And then we had another session, we unpacked a bit more. I gave her some more suggestions of the things that she could do. And it also included things not, you know, to let go of and not worry about. And literally by the third session, she had a son that was, you know, the behaviors were changed. He was getting on better at school. There was no violence towards her anymore. They were having more fun together. That bond was starting to form. And I this is a single mum who was willing to shed out of money to pay for this, but we've saved her a lot of money because of working directly with her, and we'd also helped that boy in the process. And not every scenario is, you know, 3 sessions at all, but I just knew that there was a better way, and hopefully today I can just unpack a few ways of working, and let's see how you respond. I'd love your feedback today and any questions. So this is me, and I do 2 things. I do 2 things. I train people in the power of play. I go into corporates, I go into big organizations and charities, talking about how Pause Play Connect can help them to connect with their workforce, help them to connect with their children at home. And I also manage play projects, so actually going and demonstrating the power of play with attachment work, and I'll be talking about my work in Poland recently. So why did I call the charity or the CIT Play Healing? I truly believe, and I think probably all of you on the call will believe, that play is the child's natural language. It's the main therapeutic tool when we're helping children to recover instead of talking therapy, because there's been a lot of research into the effectiveness of play therapy as opposed to talking therapy. It's just such a natural way, and it gives the child so many ways of processing, not just being sat there and talking. I remember working with a child who had just been put into foster care, and I came to visit him, and he'd obviously been used to having social workers come round. And so he came in and he sat on the chair waiting for me to talk to him. And I said, "Hey, do you want to show me your room?" And we started going upstairs and funny walks, and then we created this den and we played together for a bit, and we used play to bond. And then I did the work with him, and I had to tell him the news that actually he'd be staying longer and his mummy wasn't well enough to have him yet, and things like that. But play was this vehicle that I was able to use before and as part of my work. And I'd really like to see this happening a lot more in what we do. And it's the emotional health of a child affects their physical health. This is why I went out to Poland, because it's wonderful to give food and shelter to displaced families. However, if they are trapped in their nervous system, if they are suffering with PTSD or anxiety, they don't feel hungry. They lose their appetite anyway. So we know that there's a massive link, isn't there, between these things. I believe that parents, carers, and educators hold the key to recovery, as you are the environment around the child. And I really, really am passionate about how do we work holistically? How do we work in a way that benefits the child? And play is a key to our health and well-being. And we should never stop playing as adults. I don't believe there's an age where we should ever stop playing. Play changes. Play is a natural way that's inbuilt in us, curiosity, all these things. And I really think that it could be, if we integrate more play into our lives, we will be happier and healthier. Today, I would just love us to go from play being a verb, like go and play football, or I play the violin, and to a noun, really seeing play as a beautiful phenomenon that could change the world. And I'd also like us to see how different being in a playful state is to being in a stressed state. I'd love us to see how can we bridge the gap between really stressed out families, really stressed out practitioners, really stressed out teachers, to feeling playful again. What's the core ingredients? I truly believe that play builds connection, and it's a beautiful way of a parent bonding with a child. It's a great way of teachers bonding with the class, and that's a given. But how do we get to that state of playfulness in the first place? Play, I would say, is absolutely key when we're talking about joy and curiosity. I love those words. I think they are key elements to play. Having that curiosity in life and experiencing that joy. But play can help us problem solve, which we want in the classroom. Playing around with ideas, we use that expression a lot. Play helps children to grow in their social skills and to collaborate. It helps them to have the confidence to have a go and challenge the status quo, which rhymes. We also want this too, don't we? Because we want citizens in this world who won't just go along with the norm if there's a better way. I'm really, really passionate about us raising up leaders, raising up these children to lead and to think for themselves. We are all social creatures designed to live in communities. I love Dr. Bruce Perry's work saying that healthy communities are healing communities. I would love to hear your thoughts on this as we go, just to pause and reflect of why you think maybe fostering a culture in your school that promotes play and connection would help our most vulnerable families. I believe it helps all families. And often when we work with neurodivergent children in a way that helps them, the other children also benefit. And I also think in similar vein that play and connection helps vulnerable families. I'd love to know maybe what you've seen or some ideas, or maybe why you think play and connection is so vital right here, right now in our schools. I love thinking about how nature reflects play. And this was a really big revelation to me as far as understanding the correlation between my stress levels and the way that nature shows us about play, the ingredients for play. And I think this is the one thing that can really help us want to make the change. Because in essence, we can't play when we're stressed. If you look at cubs playing in the wild, they are not rolling around and hassling their parents who are just trying to have a sleep if they're under threat or hungry or tired. And same for us. If we are stressed and hungry and tired, if our children are stressed, hungry, tired, under threat, they see something on the board when they come into lesson and it's this maths problem and they don't know, they don't understand, boom, they've gone into freeze, or boom, they've gone into this fright. It can really trigger them, and they're not going to feel that playful, relaxed state that we would want, so they can learn through play. And we also know play helps adult and child bond, and how it can help children and parents to process traumatic experiences. They play out their experiences. Often I see this in the playroom when I was being a play therapist. I would see children who'd experienced domestic violence play out their experiences in a safer way, using maybe role play or the sand tray or puppets. So this is very, very basic, but I just feel like, it's a nice visual. So when we're in a playful state, we're relaxed and we're feeling safe, then our engagement goes up. And if we're thinking about trying to engage parents in schools, we want this playful, relaxed, safe community vibe. And then people will be drawn to this naturally. A parent coming in stressed and they're late and they've really struggled to get their child in, and they come in and they just come into your community your school community and they see relaxed smiles, that calm, safe environment, their nervous system will start to co-regulate. Yeah. So this is what we want. And this is the flow. This is the flow this is my little piece of the puzzle that I go on and on and on about, and will go on and on and on about until I see that families are seeing the value of play. Because at the moment, over 80% of families I work with really struggle to see the value of play, really struggle to engage, and it's more of a go and play rather than let me play with you, let me come into your world. So these symbols are universal, they're simple and memorable, and I'm really proud of that, because I feel very, very overwhelmed when I'm faced with a 5-step program or a 10-step program, and then I come into a situation and I'm like, oh, what was the steps and what was there? I don't know if you've ever been in staff training or something. I remember a conflict resolution training, and there were like loads of different steps that you had to go through with the child to make sure that, you know, that you'd gone through. And I remember then being in a situation as a teacher where I'd had this, you know, thing that needed to resolve with these 2 children, and I'm like, did I do it right? What's the next process? What's the next step? And I'm trying to check the card, and you know, I really think in these times when life is super stressful and super busy, we need something very, very clear. And what we also found is when we took this into Europe, they understood too. I was training somebody, I think you'll see it on the website, when I interviewed her about the training. I said, so do you think you're going to be able to take this into Albania? You know, do you think the families out there are going to understand pause, play, connect? She said, yeah, they've all got mobile phones, they all know what pause means. I was like, that's really exciting. That was really a wonderful response I didn't expect. And yeah. So pause. Why do I say pause? Wouldn't this be nice just to be able to go like, yeah, chill, pause. I don't think life's like that for teachers, eh? You know, yeah, we might be able to just stop in the staff room and have a nice chat for a bit, but often life is full, we're on the go, or as parents, life is full, we're on the go. And I want teachers to be able to integrate pause, play, connect into their world, even during the teaching time. And I love this picture. I just think there's some beautiful connection going on. She's matching the energy, or they're all with her, following her, or whatever's going on. She's got beautiful eye contact, and she looks like she's having fun. She looks relaxed. She looks like there's this beautiful engagement. And I want us to have that ability to pause and tune into what's going on around us, and pause to keep our nervous systems regulated so that we can be the most effective practitioners and leaders that we possibly can. Mel Robbins, she's a great motivational speaker, and she says we all need to be seen and heard and celebrated. And that ties back into attachment theory, doesn't it? Just from day one, going into this parent-child bond, we know that eye contact between that main carer and that baby is so vital, and all these beautiful connections are going on within that baby's brain, and they learn about how to get a response, and we all need to be able to give our children eye contact. You know, when I do the register, I call their name, I make sure I catch them. It's only a few seconds, but it's such a difference to, you know, Billy, Jean, Billy, hello, Jean. You know, it really does make a difference, because we have that innate, we want to, still as adults, we want to feel seen, we want to feel noticed. So we could pause to be present, pause to be truly present, pause to regulate, pause to tune in. And I talk a lot in my training about tuning in to the needs of that child. pausing to be curious, to find perspective, to identify barriers. Sometimes pausing is a whole load of, pausing to say, actually, I want to get therapy around this issue because it's becoming a block, or I keep getting triggered in this area. So I'm going to use pause to actually mark out 12 sessions with the therapist because I really want to work on this. So pause can come in many, many forms. Counting to 1, visual reminders. I talk to people about how they can use journaling and mindfulness and movement, putting into their daily routines to pause. And as teachers, as I was saying, pausing to scan the classroom. I remember the difference, when you're marking something or things are going on and you've got a streamload of children, and then you think, oh, I've just got to, and you turn and go, right, class, and you just suddenly address the class. There's a real difference in response compared to, you're marking, pausing, scanning round. Oh, Billy's just getting trapped in the curtain over there. Let me just help him. Or this person crying. Okay. And then you address the class. Just those few moments can make such a difference to the environment of the classroom instead of playing catch up. And I think it's really, really vital for us to share these kinds of things. I'm really racing through today because we only have half an hour. I want to get on to talking about the refugee stuff as well. But Stephen Porges, I'm sure some of you have heard of this. I didn't know about this until a good few years ago. But Stephen Porges with polyvagal theory, he says a playful spirit categorizes the social characterizes the social engagement system. When we experience our environment as safe, we operate from our social engagement system, and it's play and feeling safe and socializing and connecting all go hand in hand. So play is a wonderful indicator that our nervous system is feeling calm. And this ties into this beautiful, you can get this at Beacon House, this diagram, but play and connection happens in this green zone here, where the connection and safety is, that ventral vagal state. This is another, the pause, play, connect, flow is a wonderful tool at introducing things like polyvagal theory in a very simple way when we're working with families. And we pause to attune to our own emotional state to say, oh, my heart's racing really hard here. Oh, I can feel my shoulders up. Oh, and you start to learn about how we spot stress in our bodies. And maybe that's, a wonderful way of keeping regulated, because through the school day and little things happen, our nervous system can get more and more heightened. And then suddenly we find ourselves shouting or getting really frustrated with something that's maybe not as important as we think. How can we support our teachers and staff to keep in that regulated ventral vagal state where we're able to think outside the box, come up with really cool strategies and help our children to problem solve? So I'd love to know what helps you to pause and what helps you to sort of take that breath while you're teaching, or helps you to pause before responding to your child. I needed help. I needed a lot of help. And I had lots of therapy. I was a very anxious person, very anxious mum. And one of the tools that I've created, Play Healing, are these pause tattoos. They're temporary tattoos that I put on my wrist just to remind me to just take that moment. Just take that moment. And there's 28 on there, so it's nearly enough for a class. If you're interested, just send me a message. But they absolutely love these, and I've just been sent some lovely pictures from families who have been trying out these pause tattoos. I've got some friends who are wanting to try them out in their classroom soon as well. And it's just, these middle ones are like these families saying, we want to pause, play, and connect. And they're actively saying, we want to be a family who pause, play, and connect. And that fills my heart with joy. So I haven't got time to go into attachment play, but this modality is super powerful. And it's my absolute passion, helping parents to learn how to play with their children. And sometimes we need help with this. And I've created, which I'd love to give you for free today, this Pause, Play, Connect training, which goes through 4 of the activities that I did out in Poland. We'll put the link in the chat for you. And it's a very, very simple way of playing, but so important that we pause first. It's really all about how my nervous system is. So if I went in to these refugee centres all heightened and stressed and or crying my eyes out, I think we would have seen very different results to the results we did see. We obviously had the refugee crisis highlighted with this Ukrainian war. And I wanted to gather evidence to say we need more therapeutic play-based work in these situations. So after a call and someone saw some of my work and things, I found myself organizing a visit to Poland to work in with the Ukrainian families who were being held in Warsaw. And I thought, well, there's only one of me. I can't do everything here. What can I bring that's light and portable? And so we decided on feathers, and we created these leaflets that you can access in the training. So you can actually download the PDF of the leaflets that we use, which is translated into Ukrainian and English. And we found that, well, I'll show you some pictures. They're just symbolic, they're sustainable. We already use some feather games in TheraPlay and other play modalities. So I went over, and this is actually in the refugee centre. I'm sure you saw on the news all the thousands of beds, black beds lined up. And instead of playing in the centre that they had sort of created for the children in the corners of these rooms, imagine big buildings, I was able to go to the parents with my feathers and just say, would you like a feather? And then show them and model these games. And I didn't speak Ukrainian, but play is this universal language, and I just had to model it to them with the guide. And there were some beautiful moments of connection, really beautiful moments. And we got through about 350 odd families over those 4 days. I also brought the training into a school with over 400 children in, and we also went to another centre to train and do a big feather workshop there with families. It was just the most wonderful time, and it was absolutely wonderful also to see how those games, when I introduced these simple games, how they played and their play changed and grew, and they took those games and then they did new things with them. We saw movement, we saw innovation, we saw creativity. They loved decorating things with the feathers as well, and it was just a very, very moving and powerful time. And over all of them wanted a feather. They all engaged in the activities. And one of the biggest changes we saw was them going from lying down in the bed to maybe sitting up, or from sitting to standing. The movement, there's this positive shift in body language, and more smiles, more laughter. We saw increased eye contact, increase in nurturing touch, increase in physical movement, and all of these things help to counteract the PTSD symptoms that we were also seeing. So it's how do we create these safe spaces? And then once you give the tools to the parents, those parents were moving on with the children to Spain or Greece or going there, and they could take that feather in their pocket with them to the new school, to the new place. So it worked really well, and I would absolutely love for you to try out these things with maybe some of the precious families that you work with. It would be great. Then the next phase is all about me training up other parents and other professionals, working with parents and families to spread this work and to reframe the play activities that maybe you're already doing with that extra layer of pausing before playing. What's going on in my body here? What's going on for that child? And then how do I use play to build connection? It's just that little tweak there. And I'm very excited. I'm just coming into land now to announce that at the end of the month, this will be released. This is the online version of the Pause, Play, Connect training that's got professional videos of me chatting. I've been on lots of online training courses, and sometimes it's just like death by PowerPoint, isn't it? And so there'll be videos on there, there's some audio extract, there'll be some downloads, and it just is a much more cost-effective way of me sharing Pause, Play, Connect with this community. And then if they want to use the license, if they want to use Pause, Play, Connect as a tool in their parenting programs, then you can organize that one-to-one with me, and we can discuss how you're going to integrate Pause, Play, Connect within your school or within the work that you do with families. So absolutely here for questions. I will stop sharing now and see if